Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Well, boys and girls, there's a lot to like. There's a lot to not be super thrilled about. But here's the deal. Today, like it or lump it, whatever the heck that means, today's Victory Monday. And so that's what we're going to be focused on. We're going to be focused on Victory Monday. As the week goes on, we can talk about some stuff. We can talk about the fact that pretty much all the fears we had last week remain. We could talk about the fact that the Rams are a terrible team and it shouldn't have been that close and that hard. We could talk about how the defense struggles to tackle or generate pressures of any kind and doesn't seem to have anything going for it except turnovers. We could talk about Jordan has played 3 games and none of them have been particularly wonderful. We can talk about the fact that we still have a lot of drop issues and penalty issues. We could talk about how we're a second-half team again to start the season, just like last year. Plenty of things can be covered at a later date. But from where I'm sitting, the Green Bay Packers beat the LA Rams 24-19, which I believe actually did cover the spread by 1 point, so that's fantastic. But once again, Green Bay Packers are down at halftime and have to rally in the second half and do. They were down 16-7 in the second half, largely because of an unbelievably awful decision by Jordan Love, who was unable to identify the pressure, nearly takes a safety and decides, you know what's better than a safety, a pick six, flips the ball to a guy, and that gives up a touchdown. But with that deficit, Green Bay Packers come out, put up 14 points in the third quarter. Defense shuts out the Rams. Actually, there was 2 turnovers, and the Packers capitalized with 2 touchdowns off of 2 turnovers, which is huge, by the way. We've had a lot of times where the defense will come up with a stop or a turnover or whatever, and we don't do anything with it, which causes, obviously, problems. Fourth quarter, we lost again, but they only put up 6 to our 14 while our offense was shut out. Not good enough. Packers win 24-19. Some of the box score stuff, Jordan Love was 15 of 26, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He was sacked 2 times, had a 95.7 passer rating. Despite the troubles that the Packers defense had, Matt Stafford only had a 78 passer rating. They held him to 29 of 45, 5.8 yards per attempt, a touchdown and a pick with 3 sacks. So it seemed dire. But as the defense started to pick things up, you saw the pressures, you saw the sacks, you saw the turnovers, critical sack on third down. It's in there. It's in there somewhere. They just got to do a better job of getting it out a little bit earlier, a little bit more consistently. Rushing the ball, Jordan Love, 3 carries, 10 yards, 3.3 yards per attempt. Josh Jacobs, 19 carries, just 73 yards, 3.8 yards per attempt, and a touchdown. I think Jacobs had some incredible runs. But there seemed to be an issue where in the first half, a lot of things weren't working, and one of them seemed to be the play calling. And I could be wrong about this, but there was a lot of interesting decisions. You know, when you're pinned back inside the 5 pretty much the entire game, and you have this desire to just throw rather than run the ball, when Josh Jacobs seems to be doing a good job, and then conversely running when you should be passing and then burning the clock, whatever. It was kind of an interesting dynamic. But the bottom line is, I think Josh Jacobs more or less did a good job. You find yourself in one of those situations again where, you know, Josh Jacobs is sitting at, 5 yards per carry, and then we just got to, drill him over and over and over into a pile of guys, and that average starts to dip. But I'm content with it. I thought he had some great runs in that game. Jaden Reed had 2 carries for 19 yards, 9.5 per attempt. Emmanuel Wilson also I thought was incredible. He's only ever been good, in my opinion. I mean, he's not perfect. There's some things that are, occasionally not the greatest in the world, but I mean, his ability to take a 7-yard loss and turn it into a 4-yard gain, I haven't seen since Aaron Jones. Before that, Eddie Lacy. I think he was really good at that too. Really weird. But there were at least 2 plays where Emmanuel Wilson, I swear, we had a big loss, and he squirrels his way through there and finds a way to get positive yardage. He continues to impress me. He had the highest yards per carry outside of Jaden Reed. He had 4 yards per carry, just a little above Josh Jacobs, but really, really fantastic job, I think, by him. He's always just been a steady, solid guy. I think if he was a draft pick, he would have been playing a lot earlier and a lot more often. I'm just going to keep saying what I've always been saying. He's always been nothing but a good runner. It's like, well, it's preseason. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who knows these things? But it never stopped. And then you get into the regular season, and it's like he's pretty good at running. And then it's just, now he's the number 2 because of all the injuries. We got 2 running backs injured. He's thrust into that spot. Oh, look, he's still a really good runner of the football. Again, I don't know about the blocking and receiving and all that. They don't seem to want to use him in that capacity. But he's just a good running back. Rush defense, kind of awful. We'll get into the team stats in a little bit, but Kyron Williams had over 100 yards, 4.6 yards per attempt. Tutu Atwell ran once for 7 yards. And Blake Corum, 5 for 25, 5 yards per attempt. So probably, 4.7, 4.8 yards per attempt, something like that. Receiving, we got some good, we got some bad. PFF is stupid, and they sort this by fantasy points. I don't know why, and I don't have the ability to do it a different way. But let's just start at the bottom. Bo Melton, 2 targets, 1 reception, 12 yards. Not a major factor, but he was there, and he did what he needed to do. Emmanuel Wilson, 1 target, 1 reception, -9 yards. So that's not the greatest. Malik Heath showed up. He did have, I believe, 2 pretty bad penalties, which is rough. I understand he hasn't been out there very much, so these things happen. He's a clutch player, man. I mean, he'll show up when you need him, but those 2 penalties, I would say he was more of a liability than an asset today. But 3 targets, 2 receptions, 14 yards. Xantavian Wicks is just the worst right now. I mean, I get the Devontae Adams thing with the drops, and I don't want to be the guy that says, get him off the freaking team, I'm sick of him, and then he turns into a great player or whatever. But, I mean, these are brutal. To come in, I mean, it's almost hard to believe because it's already pretty bad. And you say, well, this is going to be a bounce back. Honestly, it's the same thing I thought about our interior defense. Like, this is going to be Kenny's game because the interior line, Kenny didn't do jack squat this freaking game. But you just think, he's going to bounce back. This was the worst performance I've ever seen in my life as far as drops. He had big plays go through his hands over and over and over. I mean, just right in his hands. And one of them, a guy kind of hit his arm a little bit. Whatever, man. I mean, at some point, again, you just got to have some heart. It's like, well, his eyes aren't there. Screw his eyes. It's the heart. It's a my ball mentality. It's a big dog mentality. It's I'm getting this ball and you're not. And he just seems very like, when he's playing. I don't care where your eyes are. If your heart's not in it, you're not going to do anything. 7 targets. Again, the most targeted player on the team. Why? Probably because he's a good freaking route runner and gets open a lot. But how many of those 7 targets did he catch? 2. 7 targets, 2 receptions, 20 yards, 2.9 yards per target. It's the lowest of anybody except Emmanuel Wilson with -9. But that's just not good. Anyways, then we get into some more positive things. Jaden Reed had a fantastic day. He did have a drop. It was a bad drop, too. It was in his hands. It wasn't like, well, it's kind of a bad throw. No, that was as good as it gets. It was a 3rd down play. It was brutal. But still, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 78 yards, 19.5 yards per reception. Had a 53-yard reception, which, look, I don't want to sit here and just rag on the throw and, Jordan, please don't throw into triple coverage and whatnot, but holy crap. First of all, that was a dot. Right? It took me a while to kind of recognize that because I was so angry that he dared to do that. Like, why would you do that? But if you just remove the defenders, I mean, that was right in his hands. So beautiful throw there. Ill-advised, perhaps, but Jaden Reed, man, coming up with that. He's just such a clutch player for this team. I don't think there's any doubt right now that he is wide receiver 1. Christian, I'm not blaming him, but he can't stay on the field, and when he is on there, the impact has been low. Romeo, I mean, just forget it. I don't know what to take away from that. And Wicks can't catch the football. Reed has excelled in every possible way. If there's a guy on this team that's going to get a monster contract in the future, it's going to be Jaden Reed. Josh Jacobs, 1 target, 1 reception, 21 yards. He's up here just because of his stupid fantasy points from rushing. And then, believe it or not, somebody more impressive than Jaden Reed, Tucker freaking Kraft. I may have to just concede defeat on this one, man. I don't want to. I want to see as we get into the groove, get Musgrave healthy. I don't want to give up, but this guy, I may have to just wave the white flag. This guy's unbelievable. I don't know that I've seen a Packers tight end have people just bounce off of him like Tucker does. As a quote, hopefully I can find it, but he basically said something to the effect, he was asked about that play, that touchdown play. If you didn't happen to see it for some unfortunate reason, throws it to Tucker, got a DB going to make a tackle, he stiff arms him into the dirt like it's nothing. It wasn't like a big get off me, pushing, fighting. It was just kind of like, excuse me, sir, nope. Put his hand in no, that's not going to happen. And then just powers through the next guy easily. And it's almost as if there was nobody there. He just runs, and it's like there's no effort involved in his ability to just get people off of him. But he made a comment, something to the effect of, he said coming into this, I am not going to, paraphrasing, I'm not going to be tackled by a DB in the open field. Like that is a personal goal of mine or sentiment of mine. Can't let that stuff happen. He says, sometimes it happens, whatever, but you try to at least make the first one miss. And then he just says, like, bull in a china shop. And it's like, yes, that's what you are. You're just a freaking bull. And I've always liked that about him. It usually wasn't these big plays, but you dump it off to him and he gets north and south and just how violent he looks. And he will break a tackle. He will break somebody's sternum. But, man, 2 different times today, the guy catches the ball and is just, freaking get off me into the end zone. One of my favorite quotes that I've heard from an announcer since John Madden praising Brett Favre was Romo, because they were debating whether that second touchdown was a touchdown, whether he was down or whatever. But before that even came up, right after that, he said, as soon as Tucker touched the ball, I knew that was a touchdown. It's funny because I think we all felt that. You saw Tucker, you saw a decent amount of space, and you just thought, he's not going down. This dude's going to fight into the end zone, and he did. He went down, his forearm hit, but he had the wherewithal. And that's the thing. Some of these guys, it's like, what makes a big difference? Like, Tucker doesn't seem all that special. He's not faster. He's not bigger. He's not physically stronger. There's just some guys that are naturally good football players. When his arm went down, he had the wherewithal to reach his right arm over into the end zone so that he crossed the plane. There's something about some of these guys about just the natural, instinctual way that they run the ball, the angles that they take so that it's harder for people to get them down. One bad example was actually Tucker. I was trying to think of, who is that guy that didn't have the wherewithal, but there was a one play by Tucker. It was like, don't, always make the first guy miss. He could have gone left. He could have gone right. He decided to go square into the guy. That wasn't the greatest example, but some people just have it. And I think you look at Reed and you look at Tucker and you look at the production and you just say, I can't fully explain it other than they just have it. They're natural football players. It's one of my favorite things to look for, especially in receivers for some reason, but for anybody. Sometimes you can't explain it. They just look natural. It just looks easy. This isn't hard for them. It's like playing Madden on, ultra easy mode or wherever. You're laying back in your chair, just launching it up into triple coverage, and of course it's going to get caught because freaking defense can't do anything against me. I mean, you look at Jaden Reed making that catch. It's impressive. I mean, yeah, the defense could have done this or that, but that's not the point. It's what are the odds Jaden Reed is able to fight through that traffic, fight through the defenders, keep his eyes up where they need to be, keep his hands where they need to be, fight through contact, and get that ball down. It's the stuff of legends, and again, we can sit here and piss and moan, and I will be doing that at some point in the future. But man, you go through and look at the highlights of this game and just go, there is some talent here. Dontavian Wicks made a comment, something to the effect of nobody can beat us. We just keep beating ourselves, and obviously he's a big culprit there. He mentioned penalties, but I don't know that he's necessarily wrong. I mean, I do need to see some things from some people to believe that the talent is there. The defense in particular. I know the talent's in there somewhere, but I'm not seeing it in this current defensive formation. But he's right. I mean, we know what Jordan can do. We know that even though this was a step forward, there's still several steps left for him to be back to his full form. Wicks, we know what that frickin' guy can do. We know why he's always the most targeted in every game. We understand what he's able to do with his route running and his ability to get open. We know what he can do after the catch, too. You talk about a bull. This dude is a bull. I know what Watson can do when he gets back healthy. I know what Dobbs can do when he gets his head back in this game. And look, before we take our first break, let me just put it this way. I think everybody acknowledges the Packers are not playing their best ball. I think most of us would acknowledge that there is more talent and growth to go, and we expect that at some point they will get there. We've seen it year after year after year. So what does that ultimately mean? What it means to me is find a way to win. When your starting quarterback goes down, just find a way to win. When he comes back and things are a little sloppy and they're shaky for your quarterback and your wide receivers are having problems and the penalties are, find a way to win. I wish we'd have blown out the Rams. I wish it was 42-6 and it's like, yeah, we're good and you suck, and that's what happens when we're good and you suck. But you know what? It's the freaking NFL and stuff happens, right? 49ers lost to the Cardinals. That's just straight up suck it, dude. All right? Yeah, are the Cardinals better than the 49ers? Probably not. But all I need for them to do is lose, and they're doing it, and that's awesome. Would it have been nice if the Bears lost to the Panthers? Yes. Was that ever really going to happen? Probably not. It's just find a way to win. Find a way to keep pace. This is a bad week for the Packers. It just was. I mean, it's good that they had the Rams, who are not great, but the Bears were never going to freaking lose to the Panthers. The Vikings, it was close. Unfortunately, Rodgers just kind of didn't get it done in the end there. Can blame the receiver if you want, but I don't understand the need for that throw. But I think the Vikings probably, they more or less had that one in the bag. The Jets were not there. By the way, PFF did their during the game grades. I thought they would still have it up. I was going to talk about some of the grades. I don't really know where the Packers did. I watched it a little bit, but they were so far behind, and then I was so into the game, I didn't really know what. But I watched the grades for that Vikings game. Everything I said about Darnold is coming true. I understand they're 5-0. Props to the Vikings. Congratulations. Darnold has gotten worse every single week. This is the second week in a row. He's going to be graded, I think, in about the 40s or 50s. So congratulations for playing Aaron Rodgers when he's just completely falling apart, throwing a bunch of picks. The wide receivers don't know how to be on Rodgers' page. Like, nothing's working over there right now. But again, looking long term, I think they're going to start to drift. They're probably in the playoffs. I mean, they're going to win enough games. They need to win, what, like 4 or 5 more? Like, they're good. They're going to get it. But are they going to be a good team? Are we going to meet the Vikings and be worried about it? Or is it going to be like remember 2 years ago for the Vikings? It was like, this freaking team is the worst ever. The Giants were a fluke, and they beat the crap out of the Vikings. Bears, they looked pretty good. But I'll tell you what, I still don't, from the little bit I watched, I don't believe in Caleb at all. That dude had 9 seconds in the pocket and threw to wide open guys all day long. Go up against a semi-competent team, I don't think that happens. Good for them for being a team that can beat up on bad teams. I just don't believe in them. But can the Packers handle that? I think the Lions can. They got the great offensive line. They got a quarterback who's getting better every week. They got the receivers. They got the... We know the Vikings can handle it. I believe the Packers can handle it. I don't know about the Vikings and Bears. But you know what? Again, the motto of this period of time, the rough period, which just, I guess, is going to forever be the thing, where we struggle through this period, win. That's it. I don't care if it's all luck. Find a way to win the games. Because at the end of the season, when we're battling for those playoff spots, when we're battling for the division, whatever it is we're battling for, these games are going to matter. And you watch around the league, and you watch Washington, and you watch Minnesota, and you watch all these other teams, and it's like, man, it's going to be a tight race, boys and girls. But we needed to win, and we got to win. And look, the Rams, look at it from the other side, too. The Rams are a team that coming into this season, a lot of people thought would be a major threat. They have 1 win on the season. If they lose this game, that is devastating to their playoff odds, to their chance of doing anything this year. I'm positive they knew that. I am positive that they knew we got a home game, we got a Packers team that is not playing its best, and we cannot lose this game. We just can't. And they didn't do it. They couldn't pull it off. Anyways, we'll take our first break. We'll go through some of the defensive stuff and team stuff, and we'll see where we're at after that. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, leading tackler, Evan Williams. Let me tell you something. If there's something to get excited about, this young group of defensive players, Edgerrin Cooper, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams in particular, I'm excited, man. We had the little group chat going on today over at the Substack. Appreciate everybody that showed up and hung out and just talked about football. But there was a certainly wasn't an argument, but it was just like, somebody had made the comment like, we need to see more Evan Williams, and I was like, I get it, man, but I really like Bullard, and we're not taking McKinney off the field, so I don't know. But man, I thought Evan Williams had a fantastic day. I was really excited about Bullard. McKinney, I don't even want to talk about it, man. I don't even want to talk about it. Sacks, Carl Brooks 1.5, Edgerrin Cooper with 1, Preston Smith with 0.5. Wish it was better than that. I wish Kenny Clark had 1. I wish Rashawn had 1. I wish, frickin' the guys that get paid a lot of money to generate problems could generate a single frickin' problem. Today's a happy day. Tackles for a loss, Keyshawn Nixon, Quay Walker, and Edgerrin Cooper. Forced fumbles, Kingsley Inigbare, recovered by the one, the only, Xavier McKinney. That was the funniest thing in the world, too, because it's like Xavier McKinney gets that recovery, and you're thinking, all right, you know what? That counts. That counts. That's 5 turnovers in 5 games. There's no way he's going to get a pick. So that counts. Boom. Did it. Nailed it. Like, the next series, the guy gets a pick. 5 in 5 games. First time since 1970 a guy has had a pick every game through 5 games. Absolutely ridiculous. But that was funny. I was talking to my half Mexican attorney, and we were going through the whole like, oh yeah, that counts. After the pick, I called him back, and I was like, you know what? I had a change of heart. I don't think we can call that fumble recovery a turnover. I just don't think that that's fair. It's not right. He's going to have to get it honorably. He's got to get a pick honorably. 1 interception in the game. It was Xavier McKinney with a 35-yard return. Pass deflections, McKinney with 2. Keyshawn Nixon with 1. Evan Williams with 2. What a freaking game that kid had. Packers had 0 kick or punt returns. Really struggled with the field position today. That punter was pinning us like inside the 5 over and over again. Daniel Whelan, I don't think, had the best day in the world. He had that one time where he had to punt 3 times in a row, and it wasn't the best punt. I think it was a different one. I don't think it was the same one. Right toward the end of the game, man, he punted like 33 yards or something. It just was not his best day. He had 5 punts, 186 yards. He averaged 37.2 yards per kick. One was down inside the 20. 41 yards was his longest. Narvison, though, Narvi, he was 1 for 1 on his field goals, which was a 46-yarder, and was 3 for 3 on extra points. I'm glad we only kicked 1 field goal, and obviously that he made it. Because, if you do 4 again, he's going to miss 1 of 4 at least. But you get him that 1 field goal, lock it in. He doesn't miss any extra points. Just stop the count, bro. It's over. We're done. He did it. We got our guy, right? Yeah, the whole thing with, his plant foot. Like, yeah, there you go. Got it. Fixed it. Boom. Nailed it. He's a great kicker now. Let's moving on. Team stats, the Rams won time of possession, 32 minutes to 27 minutes. They ran 76 plays compared to our 58. Yards, 370 to 323. They won. Yards per play, we were up 5.6 to 4.9. We had 6 penalties for 34 yards. They had 5 for 30, so pretty close to even on that, I suppose. 3 touchdowns apiece, 1 field goal for us, none for them. PAT, we were 3 for 3. They were 1 for 2. 2-point conversions, 0 for 1. That was big, by the way. That was because, at that point, you have to force them to score a touchdown. Field goal would not tie the game. That was big getting that stop. It was also really good on the coaching staff. So on that 2-point conversion, they go to run a play. Packers call timeout. They want to see their alignment. They want to see what they're going to run. Boom, timeout. Get in the right call, and you could tell they were ready for that next play when they went to sweep to the outside. They were booking it down there. And as bad as the tackling was today, they did enough to get down there and get her done. I think it was. Never mind. I'm not going to speculate. I know McKinney got in there second to kind of finish it off. Forget who it was. I want to say Valentine. I don't know. No, I don't think that's right. Total turnovers 2-1. Jordan Love was 57.7%. Matt Stafford was 64.4% of his passes. Passing yards 197 to 236. Rams had more. They had 5.2 yards per attempt. We had 7.6 yards per completion. Jordan Love was 13.1 compared to Stafford's 8.1. Passing touchdowns 2-1 in Jordan's favor. Sack percentage, Jordan was sacked 7.1% of the time. Matt Stafford, 6.2%. Team carries, we had 30 for 126, 4.2 per attempt. They had 28 for 134, 4.8 per attempt, one rushing touchdown each. First downs, they had 24, we had 19. Third downs were freaking rough. 1 of 8. There was a stat toward the end of the game. The average third down to go yardage for the Packers was like 12 yards. On average, they had to hit 12 yards. It's stupid. 1 of 8 is despicable. They were 8 of 16, which is a lot of third down attempts, but 8 of 16, 50%. Fourth downs, they were 2 of 4, 50%. We didn't do any. Red zone, both teams were 2 of 3. Pass deflections, Packers had 5, Rams had 4. Pick sixes, obviously they had 1. Sucks. That's about it for the team stuff. Then let me read off what PFF had to say initially. Again, I wish I knew that they were going to take the grades down once they were done. I thought they'd leave the initial grades up, but they must have taken it down. I would have taken some screenshots or something. But here's what they had to say. The Jordan Love to Tucker Kraft connection is flourishing for the Green Bay Packers, who used the pair's 2 scores to beat the LA Rams in Week 5, 24-19. Kraft now has 3 scores and 141 receiving yards over the past 2 games, a boon to the Packers offense, in which seemingly a different receiver steps up each week. Well, it's like Reed, Kraft, I think. But yeah, PFF's dedicated team of graders was hard at work analyzing every play, blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, we've gathered some high-level data. Blah, 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 blah. Player of the game. It's a Ram. Who cares? Some snap count data. So you got the guys, the offensive line and the quarterback played 59 snaps. That's every snap. The next highest snap count, Tucker Kraft. The Packers have fully bought into the Kraft hype. I think they just I think Matt LaFleur is absolutely in heaven with Tucker Kraft because first of all, dude can block. And then you look at how big of a weapon he is in the passing game. I mean, there's no. I think this is going to be, as long as he can stay healthy, this is going to be the rest of the season. If Matt LaFleur had it his way, Tucker would never come off the field. And I think that's awesome. I mean, I think Matt LaFleur recognizes what he has in Tucker Kraft and is all in. After that, you have 45 snaps for Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Malik Heath. So those were the top 3. Josh Jacobs followed very closely with 44. Bo Melton, 29. Ben Sims, 19. Emmanuel Wilson, 15. Andrew Beck, 3. I'm actually surprised Jacobs outsnapped Emmanuel Wilson by that much. It didn't feel that way. I suppose Josh Jacobs was probably in on a lot of the pass plays and whatnot. So as far as, when you think about them just rushing, it felt like a closer to even split. And defense, wow, this is really surprising. I did not know this. 4 players played every snap. McKinney, obviously. Quay, not super surprising. Keyshawn, also not super surprising if you figure the other guys are going to be rotating or whatever, but Keyshawn's the every down guy. Do you know who else was the every down guy? I suppose it's somewhat intuitive based on some of the things I've said already. Evan Williams. Evan Williams played every snap. 78 snaps for Williams, McKinney, Quay, and Keyshawn. That's a big wow for me. I'm going to have to go back and kind of look at kind of how much he's been in use, but I really wonder if there is a, similar to what the offense has figured out about Tucker, I wonder if there's something similar in regards to Evan Williams. I mean, I understand if you could say like, well, I mean, first of all, I would have been shocked to find out Williams outsnapped Bullard. Now, Bullard is the next highest on the list. So they're still very much in on Bullard. But to never take him off the field, and I'm sure you put him in different roles, right? He's moving him all over the place. Every snap? He's an every snap guy. There wasn't a single time you took Evan off the field and let Bullard be that dude. And then on top of it, he has that good of a day. I don't know, but I'm putting those two things together and going, do they at least think that they've got a stud? They could be wrong. Maybe he's not that good, and they think he is, and he just happened to have a good day, but we'll find out soon enough that he's not that good. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in this. That's very surprising. I would have thought, so my thought process would be McKinney and Quay for sure, Keyshawn probably, nobody else. I also would have thought Bullard would have outsnapped Williams. Just because, first of all, it felt like he was out there more. But man, I'm excited to see the grades tomorrow, see what Williams did. And if it's as good as I think it might be, I'm probably going to have to go back and check him out on the old NFL pros and see what he's doing back there, because that is a huge vote of confidence to just say you are our every down safety next to McKinney. Jeez. All right, sorry. A little hung up on that. So again, the four guys were every down. Javon Bullard, so 78 was every snap. Javon Bullard was 57, so he's the next highest, but it's quite a ways down. Then Stokes was the top corner. I thought he was doing a good job at first, but there was a series there where they were really picking on him, and it was working a lot. Kenny Clark had 51, Rashawn Gary 49, Carl Brooks 46, McDuffie 46, Van Ness 42, Valentine 41, Preston 39. They are really pushing him down. That's surprising. It might just be a veteran thing, but still, that is very surprising. Usually he's one of the top guys as far as snaps. Lucas Van Ness is now out-snapping him. I don't know if Preston maybe got banged up at some point, but that's also quite a development. Colby Wooden and Edgerrin Cooper each 30, so Cooper is starting to come up a little bit. It's a slow climb, but he's moving his way up. Kingsley and Igbare just 28, Slayton 27, Eric Wilson 3, Corey Ballantyne 2. So clearly Cooper has overtaken Wilson. That's a done deal. So the linebackers are Cooper 30, McDuffie 46, Quay all the snaps 78. So if you look at it as a percentage, Quay's 100%, McDuffie's 60%, and Cooper is 40. I don't know, something to that effect. But he's coming up, and I thought he had a good day again. Again, Cooper had 30 snaps. I saw maybe 4 good plays. Maybe he was terrible the rest of the day. But long story, a little bit shorter, the rookies are really making me happy. Especially as we watch a lot of other guys where I'm just throwing my hands up and going, what are we doing? Quay, I don't want to say it was the worst day ever, but I'm just so tired of constantly seeing him kind of being close to making a play and just looking so off balance and just reaching his arms, trying to grab people all the time, and of course not actually getting there. It's can we just blitz him all the time? Just send the dude on a blitz. I like when he blitzes. I love Quay as a blitzer. Just put him on the frickin' edge at this point. You know what I mean? We can have Edgerrin and Isaiah McDuffie as our linebackers, put Quay off the edge, get frickin' Van Ness and Rashawn out of there, and let Quay go. I don't know. All right, why don't we take a break? There's a lot of good locker room comments and stuff, so we'll take a dive into some of that, and if we have time, we'll recap some of these games. Just for myself also, I don't even entirely know what happened. I know some bad, some good. I'm so glad the 49ers lost. Giants won. Crazy. Cowboys, Steelers now expected 9:45 Eastern time. But why don't we take a break? We'll be right back. Real quick before we get into that, I want to look at a couple of the insights here from NFL Pro. This is kind of an interesting one because there was a lot of pressure, but remember the Rams are very good at that. The Rams defense generated 8 pressures on 29 dropbacks against the Packers. Their lowest pressure rate, 27.6, generated in a game this season. The Rams struggled when not blitzing Jordan Love, generating just 1 pressure on 16 non-blitzing dropbacks. The lowest pressure rate when not blitzing, 6.3%, of any defense in a game this season. This is a Green Bay Packers offensive line note, by the way. The Rams also used less base personnel, utilizing 3-4 or 4-3 defenses on 19.6% of snaps compared to 49.6 in weeks 1 through 4, second highest rate in the NFL. So, first of all, one of the few things I saw when I was looking at the grades, and this is just through the first 18 snaps, Zach Tom and Josh Myers, terrible. There were 5 pressures given up in 18 snaps, so, a third. All 5 came from those 2 guys. Zach Tom had an 11 pass blocking grade, and Josh Myers, I believe, had an 8. Now, again, it was relatively early. We're about a third of the way through the total amount of snaps, and things certainly seem to get better. But there were some super rough things in there. That being said, this note here. Xavier McKinney, after being targeted on 2 of 45 coverage snaps against the Rams, Xavier McKinney has now been targeted on just 7 of his 163 coverage snaps this season, which is 4.3%, allowing only 1 reception for 8 yards. McKinney intercepted Matthew Stafford in the third quarter of the 5th for his 5th interception in 5 games with the Packers. Entering Sunday Night Football, McKinney leads all defenders in target EPA as the nearest defender in coverage this season, negative 22.1. Think about that. We went out and bought this guy from the Giants. I don't know what their freaking problem is. He has played 163 snaps and has only allowed 1 reception for 8 yards with 5 interceptions. And Lord knows how many pass breakups. I believe he had 2 in this game. Maybe the interception was included, but at least 1 other. My goodness. By the way, I went on the Packers YouTube, and they don't have these videos up yet, so I'm just perusing Twitter. So if I happen to see something that I want to comment on, I apologize for not being super organized, but we're just taking it as it comes. This popped up, and I want to address it. A certain Packers beat reporter tweeted, "The heat Dontavian Wicks is getting from Packer fans stuns me. Same people who watched Dontavian Wicks struggle in his second year, same people who hated the Jordan Love pick after watching the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. History might not repeat, but Wicks is talented. Be patient." I don't understand that take. I'll never understand that. Somebody is playing poorly. However, there have been these unbelievably rare instances where people play poorly and then all of a sudden they're superstars. How dare you criticize somebody playing poorly? I'm sorry, that's a stupid take. First of all, I don't know anybody that's 100% out on Wicks. I'm not 100% out on Wicks. We all understand the talent. Saying that you can't criticize a guy for one of the most garbage performances I've seen from a wide receiver ever in terms of his drops. Yeah, you know what? That's going to get some criticism, and rightly so. He should not be praised. We should not be sitting here talking about, oh, he's the next coming of Devontae because Devontae also sucked in his second year. I'm sorry, that's not the right take. Quote from Mike Clemens here, Jordan Love's press conference. Again, this is the best I can do for you right now because none of the videos are available. But Packers now 3-2, quarterback Jordan Love on where they are offensively. Quote, "I think there's so much that we need to build on. I think we leave a lot of plays out there, and then we make some really good plays as well. I don't think we've played a full 4-quarter game." You don't need to say I don't think. I mean, maybe the Titans game with the other quarterback, but no, that has not been played yet. But he's right. And we all know it, right? There's the ultra negative fans who are saying this team just sucks and that this is a terrible pick with Jordan Love and we shouldn't have paid him, blah, 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 whatever. I think one of the best things about these games is the fact that even though they're ugly, you see the upside in every game, right? That Vikings game in the second half. The things that they're able to do are really impressive. It's just about consistency at this point. It's about lessening the negatives and increasing the positives. All right, here we got a video. I love this because Evan Williams is a rookie. And, it doesn't matter the scheme, whether it's a more simplified one or not. It's complicated. Even if the defense's scheme is not complicated, the offensive schemes are, and you have to understand what they're doing. But, maybe the guy's just talking nonsense, but the way that he just casually mentions his ability to just break down what's going on maybe explains why he's in the position he is. Maybe it has more to do with what's going on between his ears and his ability to really understand the defense and diagnose an offense. But rookie 4th-round safety Evan Williams played his biggest role yet today and made a couple big plays, including the game-winning pass breakup, his breakdown of the final stop.
Honestly, run that quite a few times. I think I got a 4th down stop on it in the red zone. It's just a little follow route where tight ends at 3, they motion 1 down and just erase, trying to get the post player out of it, and the tight end will run a little stutter and, try to cross my face. And I was in man on him both times. So, yeah, I just kind of had a good feel for the route at the end of the game. They'd run it so many times. I didn't think he was going to, try to break out and try to make a long throw. So, I was kind of just sitting on it. He broke back in, able to get my hand in there, celebrate with the crowd.
Celebrate with the crowd. I love that. And that is, listen, they could have easily won that game, right? They were driving down the field. They had plenty of time, but the defense was able to get them in a 4th down. 4th and 5, I think it was. And, we're all sitting there. I was sitting there. I'm sure you were too. Like, this is it. Win the game right now. You can do it. And Evan Williams did it. And it was because he was able to understand. He knew what the play was. He knew what the route was. He knew what the tight end was going to do. He even said, there's a chance that if I bite on it and he goes past me, I could be in trouble. But he said, I don't think he's going to do that. I know what he's going to do. They've run this before. He's going to try to cross my face. mans him up, gets in there, gets his hand on the football too. You know, sometimes you got these pass breakups and it's like, oh, what a great play. And then you look at the slow-mo, it's like, he didn't really do anything. He just went in there with a wrecking ball and it was kind of overthrown and the guy didn't catch it. And then afterward, like the guy threw a shoulder at him, makes it feel like it was a big deal. But no, Williams got in there, got his hand where it needed to be, smacked the ball, like smacked his hand, I think, and the ball. Just a beautiful, beautiful play. Quote from Xavier McKinney, anytime that ball's in the air, I'm thinking that's my ball, and I'm trying to come down with it every time. Well, he ain't wrong. You throw the ball, especially deep down the left side, that's McKinney's ball. I mean, you as soon as you throw it up, understand your wide receiver is now a DB. That's just the way it goes. I hope he's up on his freaking coverage skills. Kenny was asked about Xavier McKinney, which I'm sure that's got to be a disappointing thing. Like, hey, tell me about that guy that's doing a good job. Kenny says they're going to keep trying him and he's going to keep making plays, which that's about right. Here's one of the many great quotes from Xavier McKinney.
What'd you see on the pick?
Shit, I saw his eyes, and I was able to get a really good break on it.
Again, I know I sound like an idiot, repeating myself over and over again, but I've always said this. The mental speed is more important than the 40 time. This guy read the play and broke on it. You've got guys that'll run. Darnell Savage, significantly faster than Xavier McKinney, would not have gotten an interception on this. It's not because he doesn't have the speed. If they ran at the like, if it was just a straight race to the sideline from the midfield, Savage would have won. But it's McKinney's ability to understand the play. First of all, be in the right spot, right? If you're all the way to the left side because they drew you to that side, trying to get a pass off to the other side, you're not going to be able to get there anyways. Keeping yourself in the right spot, reading it, and breaking as soon as you understand it. And the fact that he understands it faster than most people is the reason he's doing what he's doing. His speed is mental speed. And those are the best safe. Those are the guys. We've had great safeties here in Green Bay. It's been a while. I guess Amos was pretty solid with his time here, but that's what it takes, intelligence. And this guy he's got it.
And yeah, he looked me off a couple times throughout the game. So it was difficult. It's probably the most looked off I've been this year. So it was difficult, but like I said, I know if I trusted my craft and my instincts, I was going to be able to get one.
Do you think that's a byproduct of the streak? Quarterbacks knowing you got to be careful when you throw the ball in your direction.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think I said it Tennessee week. For me, when I'm in the deep part of the field, if you're throwing the ball up there, then I feel disrespected. So
I love that.
For me, anytime that ball's in the air, I'm thinking it's my ball, and I'm trying to come down with that every time.
I love that so much. He feels disrespected. Like, look, you want to throw it up there, and let those guys play because you don't want to throw it deep. Fine. That's fine. I understand. You want to pick on the linebackers. You want Tutu Atwell to cross the face of Quay Walker. Can't keep up with that speed. I understand that. We'll come downhill. We'll play clean. You have the frickin' gall to launch a ball past 20 yards with me in the backfield. I'm going to make you pay for that. And he has. So many guys talk so much trash about that. This guy literally is, if you do it, you're dead. I feel like I've watched the same play on repeat 5 different times. It's the same one. It's down the left sideline. You're thinking, oh man, it's going to be close. The one guy's kind of close and cover. You know what? And then it's like the Glimmer Man. He comes flying into the screen, and it's like, I don't need to see the number. I don't need to know. I know exactly who that is. And as soon as I see him, my only thought is, no freaking way is this really about to happen again. Because as soon as I see him, it's like, oh, he's going to get it. That's already done. In my mind. And by the way, he could have had a second pick in this game. It was that one that hit him in the hand. It was a different kind of play, so it kind of caught him off guard or whatever, but unfreaking believable what he's been able to do. Quote from Tucker Kraft, Jay Reed is so good. He's a weapon to have on our team. Same with X. I'm just glad we don't have to play against those guys. I'm glad they're on our side. And again, as much as we can complain, and we will complain, and there's all this stuff, I mean, I think it's not just that we have some good players. We have some really good players. I still think Jordan is a really good player. We haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen elite Jordan. I think he's a scary good football player when he can get into his rhythm. I think Jaden Reed is emerging as a really scary weapon, if he isn't already there. Tucker Kraft is becoming a very serious weapon. Like, I didn't think it would ever happen that the Packers would have like a really, really, really good tight end. I think we might have one. Xavier McKinney is a really good weapon, and we might have some other good ones in Williams and Bullard. I don't know for sure what we got as far as linebacker, corner, edge, defensive tackle, whatever. Matt LaFleur commented on the Romeo Doubs situation. He said, I'm looking forward to our conversation tomorrow. I fully anticipate him coming back. I'm hopeful that he'll come back and get ready to work. Distractions happen in the NFL. Distractions happen in life. Here we got Jay Reed talking about his spectacular play of the day.
I seen trust, man. I seen trust from 10, and it was 3 guys. I looked up, and I just told myself, you got to make the play. They used to say in college, Reed down there somewhere, so just throw it up. But yeah, so that's trust from 10, man. I can't throw the ball, so I just got to make the play.
Again, I'm not a fan of throwing into triple coverage. I think it's one of those no, yes things. Whatever. The bottom line is, though, there are some other components to this. One of them being, for example, Jaden Reed saying that's trust. To have a quarterback have that mentality of Reed's down there, I'm throwing it because he's going to get it. That means a lot. Now, maybe there wasn't that much thought that went into it, and Jordan's just made a dumb decision, and it ended up being what it was. But from Jaden Reed's perspective, that's trust, and that's a big deal. And then again, Jaden Reed, as the ball's in the air, what's he saying? He's talking about his mentality. I have to be the one to make the play, right? It was kind of a cool and interesting perspective for him to say, like, I can't throw it. I don't get to make these decisions. I just do what I got to do, and then when I get called on, I got to make a play. So might have been a little surprised that this is the moment you're putting me in to make a play, but again, looking back at Wicks and some of the other issues, this is what it comes down to. It's a mentality when you know that you're being called on to say, no matter what, I have to make this play. Quote from Dontavian Wicks, I mentioned this before, but he says, I don't think anybody can really stop us. We stop ourselves with penalties. I don't love that answer. It's like he's halfway saying the exact right thing, but at the same time completely just brushing off the fact that the penalties have become less the mistakes that I'm concerned with. Bro, you didn't have any penalties. That's what makes it worse. Like, are you pointing at everybody else? Are you saying that Malik Heath was the reason for the mistakes because he had 2 penalties? But you're, 4 or 5 drops? You don't want to mention that? Come on, dude. Still like Wicks. I do. I like Wicks. I don't know what this slump's about, but I'm sure he'll come out of it at some point. And I look forward to that because, again, dude's a great route runner. He's really good after the catch. He's big. He's strong. He's physical. He's got all the attributes you'd like in a really solid wide receiver, especially when you got Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed absolutely blowing up. Dobbs is a weapon whenever he decides to get back. Watson is going to be a threat down the field whenever he gets back. Wicks is in a great situation to just be ignored and then destroy people and get open and get the ball, but he's got to snap out of this. Matt LaFleur did call his team the most penalized team I've had in my 6 years in Green Bay. It's an area we have to address and have to get better in, that's for sure. Matt LaFleur said he's not encouraging Love to make that throw in triple coverage, but it speaks to the confidence Love has in his wide receivers. Packers, by the way, maintain their lead with the most takeaways. They have 14, the Vikings 13, the Bears 11. That's crazy. NFC North is dangerous. I like it, man. I'm not used to the Packers being in this discussion. And again, I think the Vikings and Bears have good defenses. I think the Packers have a lot of takeaways, and I think that there is a difference there. But still, it's very cool that the Packers are actually in that discussion of like, oh yeah, us too. Vikings and Bears usually have, Bears especially, but it's not uncommon for those two. Like, what the heck are the Packers doing here? Matt LaFleur on having Bullard used in the slot, which I don't know how much his usage was, where, or whatever. That's something I got to look at. His alignments, how often he's used safety, box, on the line, whatever slot. But Matt LaFleur says that's a luxury to be able to move Bullard to the slot and Williams into safety. On Williams, LaFleur said he's instinctive and he has a knack for the football. Going to be hard to get everyone on the field when they're all healthy. That is the feel I'm getting is they just really like the way that he plays football as much as they like Bullard and he makes plays. And I think we've all been a little bit excited about having Bullard closer to the line of scrimmage. As much as prior to the season, I would have said the opposite. I want Bullard back and I want Evan Williams on the line of scrimmage. Bullard's been making some plays behind the line of scrimmage. He's making those hustle plays, flying around, getting to people. He feels, as much as I said it's not going to happen, he kind of feels like a slot guy to me. I don't know how good of a coverage job he can do in man coverage, but he's got the speed and the physicality to be able to handle it. But again, another thing slot guys got to do, they got to blitz, they got to play downhill. I'm not saying Keyshawn's going to lose his job because I don't think that's going to happen, but finding ways to get him close to the line of scrimmage while Williams plays over the top seems to be the strategy as of right now. Matt LaFleur likes Jordan Love's ability to respond to everything, called that one of his superpowers, and he's someone who doesn't blink when pressure comes, and that is true. I mean, the reason we've been such a good second-half team is because Jordan does not get fazed by being down. He just doesn't. And we've referenced many times in the past with the Aaron Rodgers era, and it's not to say that it's all necessarily Aaron Rodgers. It was obviously the whole team, but it was just an energy. And Rodgers was the head of that and the leader of the Pouty Club. When things went wrong in the first quarter, it could be over. There were times you just knew, like, this game's over. The energy just went to zero. And that just doesn't seem to happen here. Aside from Romeo Doubs throwing a temper tantrum last week, you just don't really see that. But anyways, I got to get Packernet After Dark started. We got a lot more to cover. It's Mondays are the Monday episodes are some of the hardest to do because it's like you got to try to recall your memories. You got a bunch of new stuff coming in, stats and videos and everything just flying around. But we'll slowly gather up all the information and get it all figured out. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.